All right, welcome back. So today is kind of a continuation of my garage check. And what I mean by that, at the end of the video, I had cut all the drag stuff short because there's a lot of it, along with the speed builds. If I were to go into detail on those, because they are all fully modified, it would have been another 30-40 minute video, and I feel that's just too long for a video. So we're going to go over these things a little bit more in detail, more than just a garage check, because like watermelon, that's a drag slash conversion. This was a high center of gravity two-wheel drive slash that I converted into a drag slash using certain components. And you would think that a drag slash would be all the same, but there's the PROLINE version of the drag slash. There's the J Concept version of the drag slash, and then there are full custom drag bug versions of the drag slash. On top of the DR10, the Losi Camaro, the new Losi Ford truck, versus finally Traxxas came out with an RTR version of the Traxxas drag slash, but it's on a truck chassis. And what I mean by that is the width of these drag builds. The widths are going to vary a lot, and that's going to affect performance. So when you get into basically no prep, the conditions that you race in on these roads tend to vary, which is going to vary between tire compound, how much weight your RC needs, how fast you're going to be going at the 132 foot. So your setups are going to vary. And that's why I have so many different style builds, is to test every theory out there to see what worked best for me. And usually when I get into something, I take it to the extreme, because I want to know, I want to learn. That's the whole point of doing this and doing custom builds, is because you want to know why you're doing it. Why are you buying these aftermarket parts? Is it necessary? Mid motor, rear motor, a center motor, placing the weight, why are you shortening up shocks? Why are you lengthening shocks? Why are you angling shocks, and why are you making shocks straight? And then of course your alignment, toe in, toe out, wheelbase, square in the RC. I mean, there is so much to setting up a drag car to get it to launch properly. It's unbelievable, and it's a lot of time. It's a fun hobby, and you can get lost into just doing this drag stuff, kind of like doing the 100-mile-an-hour speed builds. You can get wrapped up into that, and that could be a 10-year, straight on hobby to, achieve that. Kind of like what's going on with these no prep drag racing events, where the dollar amounts are getting really, really high, and people are buying these things up because they want to hit these events. The competition with somebody else is a blast. And then you have like Morton wheels that came out that had bead locks front and rear, so that you could change your tire compound quickly without having to buy a bunch of rims and glue them and see what works, what doesn't work. And then from Reefs wheels, to where the bead locks are only in the rear and not in the front. And why would you need to change the front? Why do you need front bead locks? Well, in my experience in running, a bead lock front wheel, it's for changing basically weight up front. A fatter tire, a fuller size tire, is going to give you more weight up front, which is going to keep that front end down. Skinnier tire is going to lighten up the front and get that wheel transfer onto the rear tires. So enough yip yapping. We're gonna get into it. I'm gonna start off with my IROC build. I don't know if you guys ever followed this, but I do have in my playlist a whole drag setup, as you will, of a bunch of different builds and running these things and testing them and building them from scratch, kind of like the Chuckworth RC mid-motor build that my IROC is. So we're gonna go ahead and crack this thing open. I built all these myself. I didn't pay somebody to build these things. I wanted to learn, and learn I did. I'll tell you that. When it comes to weight transferring and different setups. So let me get this body off. So here is the IROC build. I originally had the Ruthless wheels on it, hence the sticker up front. But in turn, I've gone to the Martin Brothers wheels, front and rear. And I do move these wheels around on the vehicles. And that's the nice thing about doing all these different setups. I do have the plastic wheels as well. The PROLINE, the J Concepts. And believe it or not, those are different offsets as well. So here is the J Concept. Here is the, what was this thing called? The Chuckworth RC mid-motor build. Now, he used to be here in California. He's since closed up and I think moved to Texas or something. I haven't been able to locate him because the wheelie bars for this were just unavailable. After I purchased this thing, I purchased it without a wheelie bar, then realizing that I do need a wheelie bar from him. I ended up trying to get one, couldn't find one, and I ended up getting this wheelie bar, which does work on the Chuckworth RC brackets that he had sent out, but it is a little flimsy. If you start drifting sideways, the wheels start having issues, and you only have basically 3 positions on this thing. So you're very limited to what you can do and how high you can get the front of this RC before this wheelie bar hits. And then twisting this wheelie bar, as you see, changes. So every pass, if you're picking your RC up by your wheelie bar, you're actually changing the way that you're launching this thing. So, and then this has the whole Tekin power, ESC, and motor combo, along with the Bluetooth module, so that I could check data on my phone, I can make changes on the fly, and I can go that route when it comes to doing this. So it does have the PROLINE transmission on it, which is basically run in reverse because you're flipping the transmission around. So by flipping the transmission around and mounting it up over here, it's now brought the weight from far behind the wheel to in front of the wheel, which is now taking your weight distribution and you would think make it better. But what I found is that you can make this platform work and you can be fast with it, but it's a very expensive build. So that's one thing I learned, and then I made changes throughout doing this thing. I run a front hot racing Traxxas / shock up front because I wanted the adjusters. As you see, I've got this shock cranked down a little bit. This one is not. Another thing is with corner balancing. And then we have a different type of shock on the rear, and these are an E-base shock with a very light spring. And as you see, it's moved out, it's widened out the shock. Instead of it being angled really far in, it's really, with this setup, has now brought the shock out to the far edge, which is, you know, pretty cool to see. Makes for a more even drag launch, and the softer spring gives me a lot of travel. on these rear wheels. So the tunability of this RC is quite well. I am running the capacitor from Tekin, and all the soldering you have to do yourself with the Tekin system. And I run RPM rear arms on this thing, along with I believe and these are the BANDIT arms, I believe, in the rear, and then these are BANDIT arms, I believe, on the front to make it a little skinnier, which we're going to do a measurement on this now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop off watermelon, and this might be the slash front. So let's pop open watermelon and take a look, because I know watermelon runs the Traxxas arms all the way around, where my Nova 2 runs BANDIT arms all the way around. So you can run Traxxas up front and then BANDIT in the rear to give you that tub look, and run a fat rear tire depending on the body that you're going to be running. And I think that's why Traxxas went over to a truck body, because it's just easier to leave the arms alone than to have to make changes to the arm in order to get you that skinnier wheelbase like J Concepts did on theirs. So I'm going to go ahead and pop open watermelon. Now watermelon is a very unique build. It's one of my faster drag builds, and I built this thing from scratch. It was a one-day build. This was a brand new 2-wheel drive slash. As you see, it's got speakers up here mounted to the top, there's a reason for that, is because it has the sound kit that Traxxas used to offer, and I use the sound kit as a drag launch device, kind of like the Ready to Run that has the trans brake or the launch control. I did that back in the day with watermelon using a sound kit. It's the same thing when you flip the switch and you can neutral rev for the sound kit. Well, if you set your trigger to where you want to launch at, and you flip the sound kit lever to, throttle again, it was a toggle switch where this is a button, but you could flip it the other way and it would immediately put that power to the wheels. So I was using the sound kit as a trans brake before they came out with this. Now they did offer that trans brake in the receiver instead of a separate module, because here's the separate audio module that Traxxas used to have, and that's how I was able to get and they put these in the 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive slashes just to make some Baja sounds and that kind of stuff, which was pretty cool. I had a slash that had it. I removed it and put it into this. But where the Ready to Run, it's into the receiver. So there's no extra module for that, and it's not in the ESC. It's literally in the receiver, which is kind of cool from my understanding. I haven't really played with it, but, I hear it's all in the receiver. In the Traxxas receivers, where they put kind of like the sound kit stuff in there without the speakers, which gives you that neutral drop setup. So what I'm going to do is on the Chuckworth RC, we're going to take some measurements. So the first thing I want to do is measure the width on this. So this is 11 3/4 from outside of the rim to the outside of the rim. Is, I'm sorry, 10 3/4, not 11 3/4. 6 black lines. This one is also, it's a little skinnier. So this is 10 1/2. So it's probably this. It's going to be the same arms. The difference is going to be the rims and being towed in a little bit. That's why I'm trying to take the measurement from the top, but the shocks kind of get in the way. And these could be cambered out a little more, and these are cambered in. That's what I'm seeing right here. is that I'm cambered out a little bit on these, or pretty flat, where this one I'm cambered in a little bit to stabilize it. Now the rear, 10 inches. And this is going to be a lot wider. So this is 11.5 inches wide. So this is using the BANDIT RPM arms in the rear. And this is using the standard Traxxas arms in the rear. So this one, when I modified it, I didn't have to change out the arms on Watermelon, and it made it more, it made it for a cheaper build. Versus Chuckworth RC, they left the standard front, but you ran RPM rear arms on the mid-motor build to shorten up the rear end. Kind of like a real drag car. You kind of, this you would consider like a mini tub, I guess you would say. And you can see the wider stance really makes for a stable RC when it comes to drag racing, and I think that's why the ready to run C10 from Traxxas is so stable, is because it's running standard arms all the way around, just like the Watermelon build. So the wheelbase should be the same. Seventeen. So the Chuckworth RC chassis is a little longer, believe it or not. It's a 1/2 inch longer. This is 16 5/8. And this is 17 1/4. So the Chuckworth RC, in his chassis design or diff placement, probably moving the rear end around, he's extended the chassis, it looks like, in the back. So it's giving you that little bit longer wheelbase. And these are things that I wanted to try. Longer wheelbases, wider, shorter, toe in, toe out, camber in, camber out, zero. That's why I have so many different platforms. So we've seen Watermelon, we've seen the Chuckworth RC setup, and as you can see, mid motor versus the rear motor. And Watermelon is definitely one of my faster drag builds. Now we're going to move on to the DR10. At least I believe this is still the DR10. As you see, I've changed the rear body mounts to the PROLINE mount, just like the Drag Slash. And I did that for a reason, because I run a different body on this every now and then. So here's the DR10. As you see, right out of the box, these things used to rub on the turning radius, right on these front fenders. So, and the body condition, you know, the top of mine was real ripply right in here. I don't know if you guys can see that. It was a molding problem with the bodies I got from the DR10, so I really didn't like that out of the box. The other issue that I had was the shocks. The shocks were terrible. Out of the box, this was a ready to run, and it was all over the place. And it turned out some shocks had stiffer spring tension, some had less spring tension, some had fluid in it, some didn't have fluid all the way in it. And this thing, literally, I couldn't get it to go straight. I tried and tried and tried, and had to keep basically limiting the power and slipping the slipper clutch in order to try to get this thing to go straight. And then I ended up getting rid of the plastic wheelie bar, and I run these bearings. and this wheelie bar that used to be on my Slash, and I had a 3D printed up basically Slash to DR10 rear mount bolt up here, and I went ahead and I'm able to use Slash wheelie bars back then. So the DR10, I'm still running the factory ESC, but and the 2400 kV BLX motor is in this. Now, I'm not sure if I changed the motor on this thing. I don't think I did. I think this is still all stock. Basically, what I played with was wheels, tires, wheelie bar, and then suspension. I played with a lot of suspension on this thing. I tried to keep it as stock as possible just to see how the platform would work. And running the front aluminum wheels really started keeping down the front end. If I have a really smooth surface that I'm running on, what I would do is I would, on these wheels, the Reefs RC wheels, I run a purple compound, which is a harder compound, but I run the orange compound up front. Purple is a softer compound than orange. And so if I need to lighten up the front, I would just throw the plastic wheels on it, and that would lighten up the front. Another thing that you can do when tuning your RCs is go ahead and get yourself some wheel weights, and I get them in 0.25 increments. You can also get them in I have them in 0.50s, so half an ounce versus a quarter of an ounce, and you can add them to the front, add them to the rear. Wheel weights definitely help you when trying to launch one of these RCs. You don't want to make them too heavy, but you want to add the most power to the rear that you can. If you're slipping and sliding in the rear, you might have to add some weight here or soften up the spring. As you see, I run a dual rate spring from PROLINE on here. These aren't PROLINE shocks. These are actually Slash shocks that I had. And these are in a pretty upright position as well compared to the front. And then I have the front locked out. So as you see, it'll drop on braking. That's all the movement I have. But when I accelerate in the back squats, the front wheels, I'm using them as weight to keep it down. So it's taking a lot of the grip off the rear. The rear grip is basically the squat that I have until it hits the wheelie bar. So that's going to give me my rake. If it starts to try to bring this up, then the wheels, carrying these aluminum wheels, is going to keep the front end down. And that's the way I was playing with that. And this is set up really, really soft in the back. I think adding some bump stops to the inside of these shocks would be the next thing that I do. But at this point, I had stopped messing with this platform and I had moved on to the low seat, because the low seat got dropped. So I kind of put this platform off to the side and moved on to the Camaro chassis. So before I get into the Camaro chassis, I want to show you a couple other drag slash conversions. This is Bad Racing. That was Martin Brothers wheels, which we have them on the Chuckworth RC build right now. So this one, I have the Hoosiers. As you see, I'm running gold compound in the rear, and I'm running purples up front, a softer compound up front for braking. And that's determining the weight of this. This is a Mustang 5.0 body, and I'm running the, I think this was called the STR or something like that, wheelie bar on this. This is a pretty good setup. This was one of my first drag builds, this and the Nova 2. And what I found was these were pretty powerful, but they were all over the place. Like, I ended up setting up the chassis to the body instead of setting the chassis up and then cutting the body to fit what I had achieved. This one I built the body first, and then I started building the slash. So as you see, I had to get the low center of gravity chassis. I run an RPM front bumper that butts up right against this body. I'm running the silver springs, PROLINE springs, all the way around, not the white springs. These are silver. And I run a Castle motor on the back of this thing that is censored to a Mamba Monster X. So this is a pretty powerful system, and I have Mod 1 gearing in this, no slipper clutch. It's a slipper clutch eliminator. And I still do have plastic axles, which are the Rustler 4x4 axles is what I run on here, and then I cut them down. Now let's take a measurement of the rear of this. So this one is 10.5 in the rear. So this is also running an RPM rear arm and 10 inches up front. So this is a Bandit front arm and rear arm on this setup to get you that skinnier wheelbase for the skinnier bodies, which are a lot of the J Concept bodies are a lot skinnier, which this might be a J Concept Mustang body along with the Nova body. So as you see, I do run a motor fan on this thing with a heatsink by Hot Racing. I took off the dual fan and I just run a single fan back here, and everything is wired up with XT90 on it. And I do have plates that bolt in up here for weight on the front of these things. So you can see the different style setups so far with these things. Let me get this thing move this thing to the side. Let me get down another slash build so you guys can take a look at this. And I have shown every one of these cars. I haven't never showed the build process to the Mustang or this Nova 2, because these were some of my first videos I did when I joined YouTube and started doing RC. I built these two on my own, and then I shot a video of them done, asking, you know, YouTube, which one do you guys think looks better? And that's when the channel really started blowing up. It was the first RC video I did. So let's take a look at this. This is also a skinnier body. J Concepts. This is a J Concepts complete build is what this was. So as you see, same thing, blue low center of gravity chassis. I'm running, I don't even remember what ESC this was. This was a, what was this thing? This was the Quick Run. So Quick Run ESC with a Castle motor. It's a pretty high KV, uncensored, and I'm still running, look at I run a Hot Racing slipper clutch eliminator on this thing, but look at the fine tooth on the gears on these things. And I can't remember if this was, this is 48 pitch. So I'm running Mod 1, here's 48 pitch, and this gives you some really precise gearing when it comes to the small motors. And then, of course, a Servox servo. I'm still running the plastic arm. I did have to make a link for this. I'm running adjustable links front and rear. So, and then part of an RPM front basher bumper. I just didn't finish running the rest of it. And yeah, so this butts right against, and I heated this up and curled it a little more to run right against this three-piece body, because this front and rear have to be painted separate and glued on. So this slips up underneath that RPM deal, kind of locks in, and then PROLINE body mounts screw on and secure this body. And as you see on this thing, I'm running, that's the new ready to run plastic front wheels, and I'm running the Reefs RC different style orange compound rear wheels on this thing. So I know that the front of this thing, oh, we already took the measurement on that. So you can tell the different styles of building your own drag slash versus a ready to run slash. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this Chevelle out here. I'm going to take this Mustang away because I want to bust out the ready to run. So you saw the pitch, the 48 pitch on the gearing I have on that. So here's the ready to run. Now I did put lights, a light kit front and rear on this drag slash. And then I run a short wheelie bar. I got to show you guys this. So I run a really short wheelie bar with the Traxxas upgraded wheels and an aluminum basically wheelie bar that I cut short and then mounted this Traxxas wheelie bar, drilled holes and mounted it to the top of it to try to get some more weight transfer onto the rear. So different length wheelie bars, as you see. Look at the length of this is a stock wheelie bar, and they are running on their pitch. That's a 76 tooth, but they're running also 48 pitch on the ready to run drag slash. So let's take a look at this wheelbase, and these tires are a lot fatter. So this is showing 10 and a half rear width and 10 and an eighth up front. And this one I'm still using. What Traxxas did is they came out with a specific drag spring that's white and drag shock for this thing, and I really do like the Mickey Thompson, these fatter rear tires that are on the ready to run drag slash. And then of course I'm running the whole Valenian system in this thing. I really like the way that this drag slash is set up for out of the box. It handles very well. It does very well for a ready to run, and it's pretty straight and accurate right out of the box. You can play with the slipper clutch and get it more power down or less power down and make it go straight on some pretty sketchy roads. It seems to just work. So now, and I've showed these two before, the Camaro ready to run Losi, which I really love this 22S platform, and I do love the Camaro body, but you know, Losi had to do a Ford truck. This Ford truck is sick. I love the decal on the side. I like the roll cage on it. Definitely like the wing. The wing really stabilizes this thing. And then the weight of this chassis. So let's take a measurement of what Losi's wheelbase is. So this is 10 and an eighth in the rear. So it is a little skinnier than the Traxxas. And then the front is 10 inches. So overall, this is a skinnier platform. And with the truck body, it runs these longer side skirts versus the Camaro body. Runs these shorter ones. So you can see the X on here is a lot tighter, and the X on this is a lot opener. And that's to get this to run to the edge of the body. And the bodies, you can swap them. So the truck will fit right over this and leave you a gap here. The Camaro will fit on this, but will hit these side things to stretch it around or remove them. But they do interchange the bodies. You do have to raise up the body mount on the Camaro to get it to sit properly. Not really the back so much, but the front. The front's going to go up 3 or 4 holes, and then the truck body should fit right on this thing. And as you see, I've run the Losi upgraded shocks all the way around on this thing. It's also running a 32 pitch with a slipper clutch. but I have the Sidewinder 4 ESC in here, and I'm running the stock motor back there. But I do like how they have the metal wishbone axles for the Losi versus, you know, the Traxxas. I run the plastic ones, so the wheelbases should be the same on the Camaro versus the truck. I never really measured that. Yeah, 10 inches. And then this is 10 1/4. So I think, wonder why this one is skinnier. It's probably cambered in a little more. Yeah, no, this is 10 1/4. So they're the same. And then I definitely love the Losi wheelie bar that you can really adjust. As you see on this one, look how high I have it set up. And then on the truck, when I was out running it, look how low the truck is. So that's why I wasn't getting good traction out there when I was running the truck against the Traxxas Chevy C10, is because this thing would squat, hit the wheelie bar, unload the tires. Where this one, the way I have it set up, this thing would squat and it would bring up the front, and then I normally run an aluminum front tire to get this thing back down, because the front is really light on this. As you see, I'm really stiff on the front, where this is pretty much, see how it lands and doesn't bounce? I gotta bounce to this one. So you can always tell the Camaro one because it'll have 2 plugs for the lights, and the truck will only have 1 plug for the light. So if you misplace your bodies, you know the 1 plug, the white and black, is going to be for the truck. Red and black is going to be for the Camaro platform. But there you go. That's going to end this video. Next, we'll take a look at all my speed builds that I didn't show in my RC garage check. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully I helped explain all the different ways you can set up a slash, and then all the different ways you can set up a DR10 versus the Losi platform. They're all different, they're all specific for their own way, and they all have their own benefits. You can set up wider wheelbases, skinnier wheelbases with the slash. The slash is just more universal and has more parts, and you can do more with. These platforms have been out for a little while, and people are starting to make the stuff for this. But out of the box, you can't beat a Losi, and you can't beat a Traxxas ready-to-run drag slash. DR10 is pretty low on my list. I know there are people out there that are running them and running some really fast numbers. That's just not me. I never really got into that platform because of all the issues I had when purchasing my DR10. But there you go. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you guys on my next video. Thanks for watching.